Hi, I'm Pam Fox. Thank you for watching my channel. So I'm going to be doing another mukbang this morning. It's the same thing I ate yesterday. Kind of the same. I don't know, guys. There's something about making these videos while I eat food that helps me to relax. If you've ever watched any of my older videos and then some of my newer videos, you'll know what I'm talking about. I don't know, it's just like I'm putting some rice milk. Sometimes I put milk on my oats, sometimes I don't. I really like hemp milk, but it costs a lot more than some of these other non-dairy milks, but it's my favorite. Almond milk is probably my second favorite. Got my Wild for Life t-shirt on today. You guys recognize that guy? Oh my gosh. One of the first movies I went to, not the first, but one of the first movies I went to in the theater, you know, without my parents. The first movie I went to in the theater without my parents was Star Wars. I went with my brother Troy and my best friend Leah, and I was 7. And Leah's mom just dropped us off at the theater. I don't know, maybe she was in an adjoining, maybe she was at the movies. I don't know, she just dropped us off. And oh my gosh, that was such a scary movie to a little 7-year-old. And we sat in the front row. We got there and saw that there was nobody in the front row and thought, score! And we ran and we sat in the front row. So of course we sat there and watched the movie like this. And even as a 7-year-old little kid, well, I did have rheumatoid arthritis as a little kid, but I had a stiff neck for like the next couple of days from sitting there for 2 hours. Okay, so today I've got the Bob's Red Mill Steel Cut Quick Cooking Oats again that I had yesterday. The Costco Frozen Fruit Tropical Medley, which is pineapples, peaches, mangoes, and strawberries. I also have some fresh berries in here that we picked from the yard and around the neighborhood. Dwayne and I went berry picking the other night. We got some blackberries and huckleberries. Those little red guys, those are my daughter's favorite. They're really ripe right now. I've got a whole sliced banana in here. I've got about a tablespoon of flaxseed. I've got some brown sugar, rice milk, raisins. I think that's it. Let's give it a taste. Wow. Sometimes when I eat oatmeal, I usually eat just fruit for breakfast. But sometimes when I eat oatmeal, I think to myself, I'm going to eat this every day for the rest of my life. It's so good. But I usually get tired of it and just switch back to the fruit. I'll probably do this for, I don't know, maybe about a week, and then I'll switch back to fruit. It is summertime and fruit is in season, and you know, there's lots of good fruit. I had a pineapple for lunch yesterday. It was so good. I cut into those mangoes last night. I had one mango. They're not quite ripe yet. They're good, but I'm going to wait a couple more days and they're going to be even better. Mangoes are my favorite fruit, next to probably blueberries. I noticed in my last video, you can really hear my eating sounds. New phone, better audio, I imagine. And these blackberries are really seedy. They're not the little wild mountain blackberries with the tiny little soft seeds. They're the, I can't remember what they're called. Alpines? I don't know. They're kind of crunchy. There's a lot of seeds in them. These aren't very ripe. We just kind of went out and picked what we could find, and they're not that ripe. Crunchy. Those are the seeds in the blackberries. So what are we going to talk about today? I don't really have a topic. Well, I kind of had a topic in mind, but... Well, I did have a topic in mind. I didn't want to talk about it over breakfast. It's kind of gross. How about the fact that people think that veganism is extreme? It's not extreme. I guess you could look at it as extreme. It really just comes down to a lifetime of conditioning where we think we have to eat meat, and then eliminating that thing that we think we have to have seems extreme. I always hear a lot of vegans talking about comparing veganism to non-veganism, extremism to non-extremism. And really, if you stop and think about it, meat eating is extreme. If you stop and really contemplate it, you'll agree with me that meat eating is extreme. And get where I'm going with this? So, since you were a kid, you were probably told that livestock animals, like cows and pigs, they're put on this earth so that we would have food, right? You know, and you believe it because your parents tell you, and everybody believes it. You know, your teachers and your doctor, and so you believe it because you trust these people in your life, you know. And so you live your whole life eating these products. Catch that? Products. They're live animals. If you allow yourself to stop and really ponder this. And see, and that's where the problem is. I think most of us stop right there. We don't allow ourselves to ponder it because we kind of know. We kind of already sense what's right and what's wrong. And we don't want to go there because once you go there, you have to make a decision, don't you? And we don't really like the decision that we might have to make because we're going to have to give up something we really like, right? So we go the other way. Mango. Guys, if you think you don't like mangoes, I used to say I don't like mangoes. And my girlfriend Malia was like, you don't like mangoes? That's crazy. That's nuts. I was like, I don't like them. She told me, you just haven't had a good mango. I don't think so. I just don't like the texture. I don't like the flavor. I don't like them. And she insisted, no, you just haven't had a good mango. So one day I was with her and my other best friend Kelly, and we had these mangoes and we cracked into them. And they were good mangoes. So I had to change my mind. I was like, okay, I do like mangoes. Turns out I love mangoes. Anyway, though, back to what I was saying. Farm animals. So your whole life you eat these products, you know, that you go into a store. Let's just stick with the basics. Let's stick with meat, dairy, and eggs. You go into the store. Let's say you buy a jug of milk. It's a product, right? Well, if you allow yourself to ponder where that product came from, if you have any compassion, and I'll tell you, I've never been a big animal rights person. I've never even been a big animal lover. Like most of the people I know are huge animal rights people and they're huge animal lovers. That's never even been me. Sorry, it's never been me. But I do have a little bit of compassion in my heart. And once I understood where these products really come from, it wasn't cool. It wasn't cool at all. Even though, you know, like I said, I'm not a huge animal rights person. I know a lot of people will be like, well, that's just some farms. You know, I get my food from, you know, Happy Farms or whatever. I buy organic or, you know, humanely slaughtered. Did you hear that? Humanely slaughtered? Do you think that's a real thing? humanely slaughtered. It's really a bit of an oxymoron, isn't it? Humanely slaughtered. Is there really such a thing? So, you know, milk, dairy, and eggs, they're products, right? These animals are considered a commodity. Why? Because of supply and demand. Because we are demanding those products, right? And there's money to be made. Big, big money to be made. And so if you think about that jug of milk on the shelf in the refrigerator at your local supermarket, you know, you don't stop and think about cruelty, pain, and suffering of a live being. You don't stop and think about that when you open the door and grab your milk and throw it in the cart, do you? No, nobody does. But that's the reality. That is the reality. These animals, 90% of the meat, dairy, and eggs that you eat, that you purchase, come from factory farms, conventional factory farms. Yeah, there are some small farms out there that do make an effort to, you know, treat their animals well and humanely slaughter, which isn't a thing. Yes, those farms do exist, but 90% of the food that you buy, the animal foods that you buy, comes from factory farms. And so what happens in factory farms is these animals are bred into their existence. They're bred into existence so that they can perform. Dairy cows, for example, they're providing milk, right? That's what they're there for. So in order to provide milk, you have to be female, first of all. You have to be lactating, which means you have to be pregnant. So they impregnate these cows. When their baby is born, they take it away from them. Okay, you got to stop and think about this. Again, it's the conditioning. It's the lifelong conditioning that we're taught that that's okay. We're taught that it's normal, it's necessary, and that it's okay. But is it? I guarantee you, again, if you have a little bit of compassion in your heart and you have the courage to go over to your computer right now and watch some behind the scenes footage of a mommy cow having her baby stripped away from her at birth, and the cries that she makes, sometimes for days, because she is a living animal with maternal instincts, you know? And why? So that you and I can have a beverage that's actually making us sick. And I know a lot of you don't believe that. No, you don't have to take my word for it. I didn't used to believe that. I used to hear people say those things and think, that's stupid. And I don't just believe that because I gave up dairy and I experienced healing. I believe it because there's so much scientific evidence that shows that dairy causes illness. Meat causes illness. Eggs cause illness. It all causes illness. So this is the system that we live in. We breed the animals into existence. We treat them horribly. They live in horrible conditions. Their life is hell until they can no longer, you know, provide that product. And then, you know, off they go to the slaughter again to provide another product, whether it's, you know, food for you and me, food for other animals, whatever. And then you and I consume those products. We get sick. We get miserable. We take medications. It's a vicious, ugly cycle. I'm so glad I discovered plant-based nutrition. I'm so glad. I just only wish I would have discovered it. I wish I would have been born vegan if I can, you know, I'm going to start wishing, but I wish I would have discovered it a long time ago. I wish I could have raised my kids plant-based. I am not missing out on anything. You know? Now I think about bacon and eggs, and I think about torture and cruelty and disease. Putting that stuff into my body when I could be putting, you know, plants into my body that prevent disease. Do you ever think about, you know, for those of you out there who are maybe pet owners and you just love maybe you have a dog and you love your dog like it was your own child. You know, what's the difference between a dog and, say, a cow? What's the difference? And you might want to make a joke and say, well, one tastes really good. Well, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about their life. They both are social creatures. You know, they both, you know, have family bonds. All living beings want to survive. We want to avoid pain and we want to survive, you know. That's why, you know, if you see an animal that's being tortured, it screams and it tries to get away, just like you or I would do. We want to live. We want to survive. We want to live. We want to live. We don't want to be killed, do we? Same goes for a dog, a horse. We want to live. We fight for our lives and we try to avoid pain. A horse wants to live. They don't want to die. But they don't have a choice when it comes to humans, you know, because we have put them into a life of servitude and captivity. So they don't have a choice. And so it's up to you and I to be the voice for the voiceless. It's up to you and I to make the choice with our dollars. You know, when you go into the store and you put down money for a nice little pink steak, you know, on a white tray wrapped in plastic, you're creating a demand for that product. But you and I can buy the plants, stop buying the animal foods, create less and less of a demand for that product. Factory farms have to look elsewhere to make their money. You know? Non-dairy milk. Have you heard about the rise in revenues for non-dairy milks? There are all kinds of meat replacements on the market. I don't eat them that much. I try to stick with whole plant foods, but they are available if you must have your meat, and they're getting tastier and tastier. They're really not, you know, today's plant-based meat substitutions are not, you know, yesterday's tofu. It's getting better and better. But again, if it's healing that you're after, if it's healing that you desire, stick with as close to whole plant foods as you can. You know, foods as close to their original form as you can. It doesn't have to be 100% of the time, although if you want to become 100% raw vegan, go for it. Some people do, and they love it. Whew, I'm going to go ahead and finish this, even though I'm full, and I probably should have stopped a couple bites ago, but it's so yummy. So, because there's so much, you know, sugar in this, not that I put a ton of sugar, I did put about a tablespoon of brown sugar in it, but because those blackberries are so not very sweet. This will fuel me when it's time for lunch, I won't even be that hungry, but I'll eat anyway. But yeah, I would challenge you guys just to, especially if you're an animal lover. I know so many people who they just love animals. And so I think, oh, they're primed and poised and ready to try a vegan diet because they already love animals. And then I try to talk to them about veganism and they're like, oh, no. But I just challenge you to begin to think about animals as animals and not as, you know, domestic animals versus livestock animals. You know, we think about a chicken as a tasty bird or a tasty food. It's not a tasty food, it's a bird, you know. We put eagles on the endangered species list and, you know, owls and parrots and, you know, all these beautiful birds. And then we torture and kill and eat the chicken. And it's a bird too. It's a beautiful bird. It's a beautiful bird. It's what it is. It's a beautiful bird. I'm done. All right. So that is it. I am going to wrap this up. Thanks for watching.